So we're going to start with some TNA news, some good old country road, because Final Revolution went down, which had the IWC melting down a little bit. TNA fans are starting to get vocal against their partnership, not even against the partnership with WWE, but like what the WWE and NXT talent are doing on their show and how they're winning their belts. And, we're going to go through all of that. And so here, I'll hit a little A's and A's, right? But TNA President Carlos Silva, when talking to Ariel Helwani about the relationship, he dispels the rumors that WWE TNA partnership is coming to an end in any way. So from the horse's mouth.
There were some rumors I saw online that this deal signaled the end of your...
And this is important because the people pissed at Final Resolution. Well, hey, this could be a pivotal point. I think it's good discourse for the fans. Like, we need a little TNA versus NXT versus AEW. We need a little bit more of that, but it's awesome NXT and TNA can like work together, and whether it makes people shut the show off or if it gets them genuine heat, I don't know, but we have some stats on that in a little bit.
Relationship with WWE, I didn't quite understand why. If anything, I thought this deal would be sort of a byproduct of it, and that deal, the WWE deal, helps strengthen TNA. Could you clarify that and clear up once and for all, what is the status of your working relationship with WWE and NXT?
Yeah, Ariel, probably why you didn't understand it is because it made no sense, and there's zero like factual anything to that statement. Things are going great. I mean, Leon Slater was on the CW last night in an 8-way on the NXT show. There's all kinds of things in process as we work with WWE and NXT on a whole bunch of wrestlers moving back and forth. As you know, Li Ying just won the belt back at Madison Square Garden just a few weeks ago, and it was really nice that Shawn Michaels and the team allowed me to go into the ring and give her her TNA belt. That now as the world champion, first Chinese world champion ever, amazing moment. So no, things are great. I really don't.
I love how Silva, and shout out Ariel Helwani show, Uncrowned, all that good stuff. I love how Silva goes and hands the titles after every match, like whatever fed he's in.
I read it and just sort of scratched my head. I had no idea even where it came from.
So there you go. We pretty much figured all that out. The entirety of the IWC did just by staying online. At first, it was like, oh shit, maybe the partnership. Oh no, okay, it seems to be that's not the case at all. And why would they, right? Speaking of like the deal and whatnot, last Thursday, AMC aired Griswold Vacation Mara in the 7 to 9 p.m. time slot and did 290K with a .08. This is the kind of lead-in TNA can expect when they debut on AMC, which would be 12x the access station average. So good for them. It's just so good to see that for them. TNA contracts are reportedly expiring soon, however. Mike Santana, Mustafa Ali, Jake Something, AJ Francis, Steve Maclin, Zachary Wentz. So I think the four rascals. Okay, here's the thing. WWE love Wentz for sure, but they just got rid of Wesley. Do they bring Wentz in? And I'm not saying Wesley and Wentz are interchangeable, but it's like, what would he? I don't know. I'm just gonna sound like a hater, even though I'm a Rascals fan. What I want to see is the Rascals stay together in TNA. They're like a core group there. Or see them all go to NXT or something. That'd be lit. But I don't want to see them break up after we just got all four of them together. Like, I was hoping to get some like brothers versus brothers feuding over tag titles eventually and shit, like TNA's heating up right now, especially in that tag division. So Steve Maclin, again, he was in NXT before. Should WWE pick him up? Should he go to AEW? I think he's doing good shit in TNA. Again, he's someone that, like, I'm not overly the biggest fan of or anything, but he's like a solid hand and shit. I get his position on the card, but there's just way more people I'm interested in TNA. One of them being AJ Francis. I think he's been such a positive for TNA. I think TNA has been a positive for him. If I'm him, man, I just try and get more money. They got a $30 million TV deal. I'd just be like, hey, I'll fucking stay with you guys. I'm a part of why the TV deal happened as well. You can say what you want, but like, how many AJ Francis clips went viral and shit? You got to give him that. You got to give Top Dollar that. Jake Something, I just can't believe the whole show's not built around this guy, you know what I mean? For sure, WWE scoop him up. Any company that gives him the money to go there, I mean, go and do it. Would he be used correctly in AEW? No, nobody is. So, yeah, I would just say, like, keep doing what you're doing in TNA, but like TNA's got to use him better and more. He could be hurt for all I know. I have no clue. I have no clue what's going on with him anymore lately. He just kind of like fell off the map a little bit. Hammerstone too. Fuck, you know, after all that shit with him in MLW, then he just ends up going back to MLW. It's like, God damn it. Mustafa Ali, you gotta think WWE want him back. I want you back. They've gotta want him back, no? It seems like that's a guy. Was Vince there when he got released, or was that under Trips and HBK? And then Mike Santana, WWE, by all means, is eyeing him up. And if his contract is expiring soon, then not only was that last minute title switch like, hey, we need to pop a rating for our live shit as we announce this TV deal, but it's also like, well, he's going to WWE. He's going to WWE. I'm sorry. He's going to NXT. Pure and simple. So if that's now, or do they do it in 3 months? TNA will fucking hook him up for 3 months. Maybe with their TV, they're going to stop doing that, but they will sign people for like 3 months, 90 days, you know? So maybe they're just like, hey, dude, stick around 2 more months so we can do this and this or whatever the fuck. I have no clue. And who knows what that means? Oh, his contract's up soon. I don't know. But Santana will be in NXT/WWE in some capacity. And any of these 6 guys could go to WWE and be effective for sure, at least in some capacity. In AEW, will they be effective? They'll just be bodies who have great matches or whatever, you know? So if that's effective to you in your mind, if that's okay, then there you go. And I'm not even knocking shit. I'm just saying, I'm just speaking the truth. So with TNA Final Resolutions, speaking the truth, what a segue, what a transition. You know, I've been kind of critical of the hype around TNA pay-per-views and shit and these bigger events like Bound for Glory. I don't expect them all to do 8,000 every time, but 2,000, you know? And then when was this? This is from 2 days ago. So 2 days before that, I'm sure they sold the 2,100 tickets or 2,200 tickets. I'm sure they sold that as of, and I mean, the seats on the map, 3,900. So it's not like, oh, they shit the bed. And good for TNA. They're drawing 2,000 paid people, not people who are at an amusement park taking time to cool off and, you know, eat some food quickly, watch some wrestling before they keep moseying along the fucking whatever. So, like, I'm not shitting on that at all. And this TV deal, obviously, like with AMC, they're going to get more promotion. There's going to be more eyeballs. There's even going to be more people going, oh, there's wrestling on AMC now. What the fuck, you know, older folks who are just scrolling through or whatever. Again, I'm not going to shit on this at all, but we need more hype. We need to start getting in that 3 to 4K conversation before we can say TNA's a number 2. You know, like AEW. Like we say, listen, Raw's outdraw AEW pay-per-views, their main pay-per-views. So how is that a challenge to WWE? In TNA's case, you could say the same thing. Their Dynamite outdrew their Final Resolution pay-per-view. How could it be number 2? So it's going to take time if you guys are like rooting for TNA, but it's headed in the right direction. And by no means am I shitting on this, but I talked a lot of shit and I was like, I think they'll be doing like some of their pay-per-views will start beating AEW's pay-per-views attendance-wise. Maybe not buys-wise and shit, but, you know, attendance-wise. I think we'll start in 26. We'll be having that conversation, and maybe we will by the end of it. But as of right now, it's like, damn, where'd all the hype from BFG go and all the invasion shit? The problem is they gave us the Showdown PLE or whatever. The payoffs weren't, or it wasn't even a PLE. It was just like a TV special. That's what I mean, man. It should have been like maybe like a multi-week thing that culminated with a PLE that was presented by WWE and TNA present, like, and you really but again, that's WWE's the A side on that. So TNA with their new TV deal could do so good and be like, you know what? Our fans are rejecting the NXT WWE stuff, which we're going to talk about in a second, because there is some fan pushback, and maybe they exercise the 60-day thing. Like NXT and WWE could exercise their 60-day clause at any point in this TV deal. could happen in the next 3 months. And then what happens? TNA is actually competing with NXT, and they already are actually competing with them in a way, and that's why they have a nice relationship. But it's just interesting. I'm excited for this next year, going into all of this shit. I can't wait. They were in El Paso, right? And this event went down. And well, we have some little side stuff here. TJPW has announced that TNA Knockouts champion Lei Ying Lee will be a part of Grand Princess show on March 29. One source, this is according to the Observer, so it could be a lie. One source indicated that TNA would like to have AJ Styles wrestle on the first show on AMC. I mean, come on, Dave. I'd like a fucking $1 million, you know? Like we would like, you would like 50% off to not be the fucking trend on your website. I'm sure we all would like a lot of things, you know? So Channing Stacks Lorenzo became the new international champion. And in doing so, it triggered a lot of the TNA holes. And what happened was Stacks won the international title. And again, this is putting prestige on that international title. So you want to talk about national titles and intercontinental titles and all this stuff. I know you guys want to talk all about that shit, but this title has the most prestige, I think, out of any of these. Maybe not the intercontinental title, but you know, the national title, the Mid-Atlantic, the continental, the international, whatever the fuck title. They you know, none of that shit really matters. It's all convoluted, and this international title has been like a focal point of TNA. They introduced it and they focus on this title on the TV show and make it feel important on the TV show. But Stacks punched Santino. So basically what happened was like Lexus King and these guys invaded. They were going to light the ring on fire. Let's play some Anthem. Be cool, bros.
Wait, well, no, you spell that too. That's lighter fluid.
There's no freaking way.
Lexus King is spraying lighter fluid all over the TNA emblem.
Oh, hell no.
This is not going down like this.
And we're in a second.
Oh, it's Maclin.
So I'm probably not pausing enough, but whatever, dude. We're chilling. They so they were gonna like light it on fire. They didn't. The TNA guys hit the ring. So again, like we've talked about this. This is the direction it was going in. Now, maybe some of the TNA fans are upset that the people from NXT that are being sent over to TNA like they don't match up. Like they don't stack up in comparison to like who TNA sent over, who they view as their top guys. They're sending like Lexus King and shit over to TNA, and like that's, people don't want to see this, I guess, is some of the fan backlash. And I thought I had a bookmark. I think I do. Hold on a second. There was a screen grab someone took of all of the videos from Final Resolution, and the two things that everybody hated the most, like the two things that got the least amount of views, was Stacks winning this title and them invading their show and doing this shit. And then the thing that got the second least amount of views, I think, was Mustafa Ali being dragged by that horse. And I think some people have the feeling maybe Mustafa could end up back in WWE, but more so like he's doing this sports entertainment-y WWE type shit, which I mean TNA's always kind of done. They've always had like spooky folks and you know, like what am I looking for? Like mysticism and like abyss and all. They've always done like, you know, crazy fucking gimmicks, and they've been willing to fucking give people new names, or like Dr. Stevie or whatever. Now I know they're in a new era, but to get to this new era, remember they shot like a vignette where they all went and found this like treasure trove with like it was like a power box with like fucking energy shooting out of it and all this stuff, right? I mean, it's pro wrestling. There's some suspension of disbelief there, I understand. But I don't know. This was inevitably what was going to happen. NXT people were going to go run rampant in TNA, and then TNA were going to get their comeuppance on their end of shit. Obviously, NXT isn't going to let all of their top guys get the shit beat out of them in TNA either, but fans were hoping for some of that, you know, and they've let TNA stand tall on their show enough to where I think this would be okay. But maybe TNA fans don't want to see NXT people invading anymore, or maybe they just don't want to see like these guys in particular, or whatever. But Stacks just punched his father-in-law as well,
little bit of this
Santino.
chaos caught it.
Oh my God! Stacks just.
I mean, I like this, but people would go, "Yeah, you're an NXT WWE fan more than a TNA fan." And it's like, yeah, that might be true. So like, I like seeing all this crossover shit. The crowd sounded hot as fuck for all of it. I'm just not sure, dude. I'm just not sure like why the fans were so upset at all this shit. But yeah, the NXT guys, it was like a big brawl with the TNA guys. It took like 1 million people to separate everyone. I mean, I think it's perfect for guys like Lexus King and Channing Stacks and them, but the problem is that people view TNA, a lot of people who might be coming back to TNA who kind of fell off view TNA in a certain way, and then there's like a sicko, like uber smart mark section of the IWC that views TNA in another way. And what those ways are, the old school fans see Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe, Abyss, like Rob Van Dam, a bunch of these like Jeff Jarrett, even like a bunch of these name guys who won the title, and AJ Styles, and that title is prestigious and has a lineage that, and some of the matches they had you could stack up again, blah 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 blah. And then on the sicko side of like the younger generation, maybe not even younger, but just like the people who saw like the Kenny Omegas and maybe even like the Austin Aries and the Kenny Omega, like the people who held the title, that it was like Bobby Lashley had a good run with it. There was some people who there's like an era, maybe that's even going a little too far back. I know that was like the worst time ever for TNA and like Impact when EC3 and all but like LA Knight was there doing his thing. They were trying to make things happen. And some people view that title as like, Omega held it and it's been fought for. Like Rich Swann had a run with it where people were like, he was having 5-star matches and shit, so I get it. I get why people are like, well, why are the NXT guys matching up with the tippy top TNA guys? But that is what TNA signed. Like they agreed to do this with NXT, and they weren't like, they could have negotiated, well, let's team up with Raw and SmackDown and shit. But I think in the long run, in like 5-10 years, the conversation will be closer to TNA against SmackDown or Raw than it is NXT, unless NXT continues to blow up and whatnot. So we'll see who benefits from this. But as far as like the heat and just getting a moment where like all these people are hitting the ring and TNA is doing exciting shit, and I think that's good for them. They need stuff like this going into like they're part of it now with their TNA deal on AMC. Is like, hey, there's going to be fucking some NXT WWE people could show up on this show too, and that might get them more TV viewers. So obviously they're not going to want to like just throw that all away. So here, Team TNA versus Team NXT is going down in a steel cage.
Guess what? You got my attention. 2 weeks from today, we're going to settle this like real men. No more running around. No more hiding in the shadows. No more being bitches. We're going to settle this. Team TNA versus Team NXT in a steel cage. I'm going to call it, huh? This week I'm going to announce the teams, and this week on Impact, we're going to get ready. And trusting me when I tell you this, Team TNA, we're going to be danger animals.
So yeah, they're gonna fight in a cage. So that'll be awesome. But speaking of awesome, well, here's what Santana. This was before. This was like a warning to Mr. Stone on Impact or whatever. So speaking of awesome, dude, Bear Bronson, who again, Bear Bronson. I think that was the other guy's name was Bear Boulder. They were in AEW, and they were actually pretty cool. Like they had size and shit. Then they started doing like this stupid booty muncher shit, and it just got so goofy. And then they were getting made fun of some botches and shit like that. But listen, as far as their look, and when they first came in to AEW, AEW was promoting like Godzilla versus Kong, and so they had positioned these guys as like, oh, they're representing King Kong in like a sort of, and like, you know, they brought them in as like they're these big imposing guys who could potentially pose a threat to fucking the tag titles and all that. And then they just kind of like disappeared, like they didn't do anything with them, and they were just there having. And then the Bears, instead of being like these two monsters, they started doing like all these dumb fucking moves and like trying to do matches with like Dark Order, who were fucking, you know, like, you know how they wrestle in AEW, and it was like the pandemic era, and their fucking guys are getting dropped on their heads and shit. And I'm not like putting heat on these guys or Bear Bronson in particular, but this was their journey in AEW. It just seemed like, well, push them like two big monsters. Why are they now having matches where, you know, it was stupid the way they were booked. And then they just kind of became nothing. Then they started doing this booty muncher shit, and it was like, okay, whatever. And then the one bear Boulder, he like got fired from AEW because he got accused of some like crazy DV type stuff, right? Where he got into a physical altercation with a woman or something like this.
Allegedly.
I'm not a lawyer. This is so. And so Bear Bronson was just like left to his own devices, and he's just sitting at home, and basically he doesn't know if he's getting booked or not. And he got a little bit more vocal, and he was saying things, I think, right before he got released from AEW, and he never buried AEW. He was professional about the release and all that. But Bear Bronson was like, dude, I'm being punished for something I had nothing to do with. Like, I didn't even do that. If you give me the ball, I can run with it. And Bear Bronson was a guy who was trying to make it as a single star and like on the indies and shit. And as like a last ditch effort, he fucking teamed up with this Bear Boulder guy. And then they kind of got their break in AEW, at least monetarily, you know, and at least like getting an opportunity. And then, but, you know, fast forward to where we're at, and he was tweeting shit out like, dude, I'm getting like, now I'm not getting booked. And I mean, I'm surprised the dirt sheets and IWC didn't melt down more about what he was saying, but he was like, he didn't get renewed soon thereafter. Like his deal was coming up. So I guess Tony Khan just ghosted him or whatever. That's all I can assume, right? Based off like him vocalizing like how he's being punished for something he didn't do. And
best guys, Tony Khan.
You didn't hear anything about it. So Bear Bronson goes on the indies, and he starts having matches that people are like hyped about on the indies. They're, you know, people are leaving AEW or WWE, and they're having a match with him. Not everybody, but he's having matches that, you know, fans of GCW are like, damn, this was fucking awesome and shit, right? So he gets signed to TNA. I'm hoping he's actually signed to TNA, because he's a guy that on his own, even, he has that Vader, that Bam Bam Bigelow, maybe not as rank as them. Like, no one will be, again, you're always getting compared to people before that were better, right? Like, unfortunately, that's the unfortunate thing with wrestling. I'm not saying he is Bam Bam Bigelow. I'm just saying like he has that aura. He's like he's a big, thick bear dude who, I mean, you could stick as a heater with someone. He got a not a good shake. And I'm not saying everyone should be a charity case, but like, that tag team, the Bears, they could have been something in AEW. And it's like, damn, Tony, like those are little fumbles people don't talk about enough. I've griped about this. I've probably talked about Bear Bronson more than anyone in any podcast in the fucking pro wrestling space over the last 3 years. But I'm just glad he's in TNA. Like this is fitting.
And their tag team partner from Long Island, New York, weighing in at 285 pounds, Bear Bronson.
There have been rumors that Bear Bronson could be making his way here to TNA Wrestling.
And he's there with C.W. Anderson, who's still going, and Brock Anderson. Shout out Arn Anderson as well, letting C.W. Anderson be a part of this with Brock or whatever. And also, Brock in TNA. Like, I love that too. That's where he should be. And I don't know about them teaming up as a trios, but whatever. He made the call to one of his old AEW buddies, I guess, right? But I'm here for fucking Bear Bronson.
They are already having their eyes out for who could possibly replace JDC come January. You gotta love it. Only in pro wrestling do you come to a job interview and punch the person giving you in the interview.
Like he could be a heel for them, like a fucking top heel for them. The Righteous, though. Speaking of AEW tag teams or Ring of Honor, wherever you want to associate the Righteous, right? I mean, like they were brought into AEW and essentially they weren't being used. And then when Tony Khan just needed a tag team to handicap match lose to fucking MJF when Adam Cole got hurt, they brought in the Righteous, monster pushed them as far as like they're breaking dudes' ankles, Kathy Bates style, with fucking wood blocks and sledgehammers and shit, like crazy shit. Then they just fucking lost, and then you didn't see anything from them. They didn't win the tag titles or anything. But the Righteous are in TNA, and this fucking rules. And I'm a huge fan of these guys. I think, again, I was pushing for them to be in WWE with Karrion Kross and all that. This might be better, you know? Again, what are they going to go into NXT and all this shit? And I also said a long time ago, TNA would be perfect for them. It would be awesome. If Karrion Kross and the Righteous, they were teasing all that shit. If they want to link up in TNA, that would be amazing. Imagine Scarlett and Karrion join TNA with this new TV deal. And then the Righteous are his guys. Like he was teasing that while he was in WWE. And the Righteous have been putting out like cryptic tweets forever. And then the snaps happened. And I will say, even though Tony Khan's been wrapped up in like, hey, we're going to fucking license all this music we don't need. Or like, we're going to steal music again, allegedly. I don't want to make any fucking claims or anything, but Tony, right? Like there's accusations that he's like lifted music from people and shit. So if that's the case, good on him for letting the Righteous continue to use this music that they've been using since I think like ROH and just around the indies and shit, before Tony Khan purchased ROH. And they were a big act for ROH, man. And big, I mean big for ROH, you know? Because people say, well, what does that mean? Well, I mean, ROH was around for many years, you know? They were still doing houses and shit. Enough to where Tony Khan shilled out however many million. They worked him out of fucking how many million did he pay for that? Can't remember. And so yeah, Dutch and Vincent, they're here in TNA. It's just good to see, and good thing that Tony Khan let them keep their music. Or did he own the rights? Did they own the rights to it? I don't know. Maybe Lex Luger can tell us.
Wait a minute. Vincent, Dutch, the Righteous are here in TNA.
What are they chanting? His flippy tongue. Yeah, so shout out Anthem and TNA and all that. I'm going to end up having to clip all that shit out playing this music. And yeah, so that was Final Resolution, and I thought some cool shit happened. I know people are mad about stacks and all that, but look at what they're building to. TNA's headed in the right direction. I'm not going to sit here and start shitting on it because of one perceived bad night. I thought it was cool until I saw the online discourse. So I was like, what the fuck? And then there are some TNA fans who are like, yeah, we don't want to see these guys winning our titles and shit, you know, and they're claiming them our titles and shit. And it's like, all right. And that was TNA news. Heyo.